Hi there, I'm Jen, this is Remembered Reads, and this is going to be primarily a library book haul with a couple of non-library books. The first book that I unexpectedly got this month is Bowie on Bowie, which is a collection of interviews that David Bowie did with a variety of, primarily music magazines, but from a variety of sources. I had entered a Goodreads giveaway for a biography called Strange Fascination, and for the first time ever I actually won the Goodreads giveaway. So I was excited about that, but then that book's publication was pushed back, and so the publisher sent this instead. So I was happy to have still gotten a free book, so that was fun. Next up is the one book that I actually bought. I was going to say this month, but I think it's the first thing I bought in a few months. And that is Midnighter and Apollo, which is the book, the follow-up to the ECU Midnighter series that Steve Orlando and Aiko had done. I was disappointed that that series didn't continue past the 12th issue, but I was glad it got a follow-up. I wish this had been an ongoing rather than a miniseries, but yeah, I did read this as it was coming out, but I still wanted to pick it up because I really thought that this and the Midnighter series had really fulfilled the potential that this kind of reboot should do, so I was really impressed with this series. So those were the two books that I actually acquired ownership of. The rest of this is going to be, I went to the library today, and apparently almost all of the books that I'd had on hold came in. Let's go through those. So first up is Tram 83, which is by Fiston, Mwanza, Mujila. This was translated by Roland Glasser, and I believe it's about a group of people, all of whom go to a nightclub that is called Tram 83. It's in an unnamed city, but for most of the reviews I've read, it sounds like it's probably supposed to be Lubumbashi. Yeah, I've heard a lot of positive buzz about this, so I'm looking forward to reading that. Next up is Kit DeWall's My Name is Leon, which a lot of people on BookTube were talking about, I think either late last year or earlier this year, I don't quite remember. It is basically a story about a boy who is separated from his brother while they are both in foster care or in the care of social services. Next up is The Cold Commands and the Dark Defiles by Richard K. Morgan. These are the two sequels to Steel Remains, which I mentioned in my last wrap-up. This is a grimdark style fantasy series. I'm assuming it continues on the stories of the three main characters that we had in the first book, who are all trying to prevent this massive blending of worlds is what it looks like at this point, but with two more books to go, who knows? We'll see how it goes. I had a lot of fun with the first book. I thought it was really tightly written, which you don't see a lot of in fantasy. I do notice that both of these are longer than that was, but they are still not beast length, which I still like to see. Next up is The Arab of the Future 2, which is Riad Sattouf's continuation of his childhood memoir. The original one covered a span of several years. This one is just 1984 to 1985. It looks to be primarily, I see blue. It looks like it keeps the color scheme that the original had, wherein I believe Syria was pink and France was blue in the background. I think in that one Libya was yellow, but I don't believe any of this is in Libya. I think this is just Syria and France. I very nearly bought this last week, having forgotten that I put it on hold, but my hold came in, so I'm glad I didn't buy it. Next up is another book that I've seen quite a lot on BookTube. This is Ninefox Gambit by Yoon Lee. It is described on the back as like Starship Troopers meets Apocalypse Now, which can't beat that. And I think it's been a while since I've read something that is pure science fiction, so I'm looking forward to that. Next up is another piece of science fiction. This is Two Like the Lightning by Ada Palmer. Based on the description, it seems to be about someone who can bring inanimate objects to life, but based on a lot of the reviews I've seen, I feel like there are a lot of other elements going on in it, so I'm definitely curious to see how those different things come together in this one. And next up is Volume 2 of Secret Six. I think this was the New 52 version of Secret Six. I've kind of lost track of all of these, but this is one of Gail Simone's books. I read the first one I think last year sometime, probably more than a year ago. I wasn't super impressed with it, even though I'd heard a lot of positive buzz about it, but to be honest, I hadn't been super impressed with it, but I was curious enough to see how it went. It is, for those who don't follow it, one of sort of a wacky band of anti-superhero type characters having adventures based on the cover apparently having a barbecue. So we'll see how that goes. And then finally I picked up Nimona by Noelle Stevenson. If we're connected on Instagram, you may have seen that I was reading the ebook of this a few weeks ago. I thought that the lettering in this didn't lend itself to being super ebook friendly, so I ended up returning the ebook to the library and putting this on hold instead. I was surprised how quickly it came in. This was originally a webcomic. It is about a shapeshifter who gets together with a supervillain and they have wacky adventures. I'm not, to be honest, a huge fan of the art style, but I've heard quite a lot of positive buzz about this, and based on my experience with the first bit of the ebook, I'm not a huge fan of the lettering, but I'm still looking forward to reading this because I've heard a lot of positive things about the story itself. And that was my big library haul. Anyway, that's it for now. Ciao.